I rank among those who had the privilege to meet Bill Hillier decades ago, when the expression space syntax first appeared in print form. That was the year of 1976, and the place was the fascinating intellectual environment formed by him, Julianne Hanson, Adrian Lehman, Alan Beatty, and the other colleagues at the Bartlett. I have since been greatly stimulated by his seminal ideas, first as his MSc student, then when he supervised my MSc thesis, and then my doctoral dissertation. For my great joy, our relationship did not end here, for we met often again in Brasilia, London, Atlanta, Stockholm, Istanbul, Santiago. I have considered a list of adjectives, adverbs, and metaphors to try and convey how important he was to me, both academically and personally. Found none, either because they were too shallow or too pompous, or perhaps because I think he hated the three species. His theory is built upon verbs and substantives. Bill's contribution raises the bar of the social importance of architecture, and in doing so, he establishes new levels of ethical responsibility in design. Surely architecture is made of brick and mortar. It is an inanimate phenomenon. Surely people are made of flesh and bones. They are living organisms. Physical properties of building materials affect the comfort of our bodies as biological entities, and the contribution of natural sciences to architectural performance legitimately defines lines of research in academia. However, Bill does not approach architecture through the lenses of natural or biological sciences. Rather, he does this through the lenses of social sciences. For him, not only architecture but society itself is an artifact, configured through recognizable patterns of bodies deployed in space and time. True enough, societies as encounter systems are not new in the literature. Remember Pierre Bourdieu's social capital. We are positioned in society according to cultural, economic, and political resources we can mobilize, but also through the networks of social contacts to which we belong. This is Bill's system of encounters and avoidances, but now through analytical categories which allow for the fine-tuning approach as arrangements: large, small, hierarchically defined, horizontally structured, in daily life, in exceptional circumstances, actual, virtual, all qualified by social labels superimposed on people. Notwithstanding the virtual mode of relationships, encounters happen in actual places, the order of which modulates our movement in space through barriers and permeabilities, and our awareness of others through transparencies and opacities. This happens at all scales, from small buildings through settlements to the natural landscape, as Lucy Donegan shows concerning the social choreography in urban beaches. The possibilities and restrictions instituted by architecture go far beyond appearances and matters of style, the hegemonic approach in architectural literature. Against the mainstream, the focus is now directed towards the ordering of space, which is, quote, really about the ordering of relations between people, end quote, opening paragraphs of the social logic of space. Not an easy task. As Michael Benedict notes, it takes years of training for architectural students to be instilled with an oculocentric, solipsist experience of places, so that they can draw their projects without people. or wait for a shot of an existing building until nobody's around. The images of any publication on the, quote, architecture of power and taste, end quote, in Gary Stevens' words, illustrate the point. When Bill and Julianne put people back in, they stress the importance of the couplet architecture body arrangements as one of the most telling instances by which society's identity is constituted, recognized, and reproduced. The obvious corollary is the addition of a type of capital that has not deserved a place of pride in Bourdieu's oeuvre, architectural capital. Inspired by another master of mine, the Brazilian philosopher Evaldo Coutinho, I suggest architectural capital is twofold. One, there are end elements, ordered space in which we are, through which we move, and in which we are aware of other people. Ordered space is the ultimate aim of architecture and the forte of space syntax theory. I call this spatial capital. And two, there are mean elements, volumetric features which, by practical necessity, define the voids. I call this building capital. However, if such physical elements have a supporting role in architecture, their materials, finishings, color, texture, size, form, are also constitutive of power and taste, that is, of the habitus, the overarching Bourdieu's concept that encompasses modes of having, thinking, acting, and feeling, which distinguish subjects and locate them in social space. The above reasoning implies we should avoid a moaning mode, which laments a situation without considering that places are social constructs. It is as if simply bad professionals or bad knowledge were the source of bad environments. There certainly is incompetence around us, but this is not the crux of the matter. When it comes to the habitus, both pedigree architecture and the anonymous social production of buildings and settlements may constitute one and the same architectural paradigm. For example, gated communities in Brazil cut across class status. Now, if we are to leave the moaning mode and embark on a critical mode, we must for a moment zoom out from the environment and not focus on the environment per se, but rather on the habitus to which the environment belongs, as one of its constitutive elements. What paradigm is being embraced by the social subjects in question? In the critical mode, we are not simply analysts of an environment, we are critics of society, but focusing in one of the forms it materializes, architecture and social arrangements. We must act as the social subjects we are, struggling in a social milieu, fighting for a certain habitus, identifying our allies as much as our adversaries, and confront them. Otherwise, we run the risk of picking the ineffective wrong battles, in the worst scenario, of adopting a naive stance and preaching in the desert. Concrete reality, artifactual phenomena. These are perhaps good catchwords to convey Bill's vision of architecture and society. Sociological or historical literature often register society as power struggles among social classes, or ways of expressing ideas, or modes of producing material goods. But none of such processes happen in a void. They do not occur in some sort of insubstantial ether, but are deployed in space and time and qualified by them. As Julian, Bill, and Hilary Graham once put it, quote, ideas are in things, end quote. Notwithstanding specific theories or interpretations, praiseworthy as they are, what I cherish most from Bill's teaching is this. I have relearned to think about architecture, and by the same token, about human society. His influence in my thinking was rather in the field of epistemology, rather as knowledge about knowledge than knowledge about the world. Philosophy rather than science. In my name, and in the name of Bill's academic children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, who constitute research groups in Brazil, in Brasília, Goiânia, Recife, Natal, João Pessoa, Rio de Janeiro, Niterói, Fortaleza, Curitiba, Florianópolis, Porto Alegre, Pelotas, Belém, and possibly other cities, I say we are forever grateful. Thank you.